You are running with the Devils, and we are back. We're back for 2021. It feels so good to be talking Arizona State football, as always, here on Running with the Devils. I'm, of course, your host, the RyKno Ryan Knowles. Here with me, Big John Caldwell.
Big John,
what's up? Yes, it's just so good to be talking ASU football with you once again for our fifth season. Doing this with you. You know, we of course love our loyal fans who tune in every single week, even back when we were, just doing our regular radio podcast. Now, of course, our second season doing video with you here on YouTube, and we couldn't be more excited. I think Big John, this is a season of so much hype, so much expectation. I think, especially after last year's just disappointing everything with COVID, not being able to go to the games. Just so many things, going on with the team, and just things that it just didn't feel like a real season. Basically, the team only played 4 games. They ultimately finished 2-2, but it all kind of feels like a wash when it's all said and done, doesn't it?
It was just enough to get you to see
what's your appetite, I guess,
and see that there was really something special with especially the running game. I mean, Jaden, I don't know if he took a step back, but I don't think he ever had a chance to get in the rhythm. But, man, the running game was just outstanding, and I think it caught the nation's attention, and it's what brought really winning 2 out of 4 games, and really 2 games that it barely got away from us, made a lot of people say, let's take a 5th and 6th year to put something together and do something special.
Oh, yeah. I think there's a whole mantra and a feeling, an atmosphere of unfinished business surrounding this whole program right now, and that's kind of what the attitude that they've all adopted. That's why pretty much everybody came back. I mean, 22 starters back on the team, I think is just says volumes about where this team's mindset is at, and just they're hungry right now. They want to go out there and play football, play as a team, and win football games and really accomplish something.
Right.
And before we, certainly we'll talk about all of that. We'll go position by position on this team. We'll talk about the schedule. We'll preview this Thursday's season opener against the Southern Utah Thunderbirds a little bit later in the show. But first of all, we got to give some love to our sponsor once again, and they've been with us every single year, and that is, of course, the Valley Athletic Booster Club. They are tremendous ASU sponsors, and they sponsor us as well. They have been adamant ASU supporters for a long time now. So please check out valley-athletic-booster-club.com and see how you can get involved. So, Big John, it always starts with this team, the position, we go position by position here. But, this is maybe even more so than ever before. This is Jaden Daniels' team. He's a captain for the first time in his ASU career, I believe. He, I think he's really put his stamp on this team, and really, and started to make it his. And unlike last year, he had an opportunity to get on the same page with his receivers. I think that was the something that was really missing last year. He was breaking in a new group, probably mostly outside of Frank Darby. And once Darby went down, it was really a struggle for him to get into any type of rhythm and have a rapport with his young receivers. But he's still a force to be reckoned with, both through the air and on the ground. He's a legitimate dual threat guy. Who makes great decisions. Even just 4 games last year, he was still pretty. I would say still had a pretty solid season. All considered, 58% completion, over 700 yards, 5 touchdowns against just 1 interception. He was also the 3rd leading rusher on the team with 4 rushing touchdowns on the season. So, there's a lot to like about this kid, and it truly is his team.
Yeah, he got to run Zach's offense. And
that was another thing too. The first year with a new OC and a whole new system, and with not a true training camp and a full spring to prepare for that.
The whole team, Herm Edwards was not even able to address this entire team personally in front of all of them other than Zoom. It was crazy.
Yeah.
So it was a real helter-skelter kind of year. But the fact that Jaden got to run a good portion of Zach Hill's playbook, I think there's a whole lot more familiarity, and I think we saw it in the spring game. The practice looks completely different this year than the spring game, quite frankly. It looks a lot.
You've been able to go out to practice and see this team quite a bit up
Yes,
close
I have.
and personal.
Yep.
What do you make of Jaden? How has he progressed in this now his third year in the program?
I see better footwork. I wouldn't give him an A+. I'd give him a kind of, he's still a B+. There's still room to improve on his footwork. And when he's not quite set up, he'll throw it low or he'll throw it behind people. But
that's true with most quarterbacks.
Yes. But his first inclination when chaos ensues is to run. And I think they're trying to not break him of that, but have him make good decisions and maybe have route runners come back on the route or go someplace where they can extend the play through the air, not necessarily his legs. So that will
definitely extend his shelf life. But now he's been able to bulk up a little bit. I think he has a better deep ball.
Yeah.
And we saw flashes of that at times last year.
Mm-hmm.
But this is still a team that is going to run through him as he goes. The team will go. It's true with most programs.
Right. And
I think, but everybody from top to bottom within the program has all the confidence in the world in Jaden Daniels.
Oh, I think you said a key thing, but he doesn't do dumb things with the ball. He makes very intelligent decisions. He protects his body well. I haven't really seen him do too many nutty things out there with him.
He knows when to slide. He won't do like Manny Wilkins and hurdle over guys and work
or run right up and hit somebody like at the SC game, right? 2-3 years ago.
Yeah, he knows better than that, which is at times it can be a little frustrating. You're like, why don't you work for the extra yard? But at the same time, he lives to fight another down. And that's the big thing with him. That goes back to him making smart decisions with the ball, because he's not trying to make a spectacular play every time he goes out there.
Mm-hmm.
He's very steady. He extends drives.
Yes.
And he can, he can make the big play when you maybe expect something else, something completely different from him.
Yeah, he's a captain this year, folks, and I wouldn't call him the most verbal guy out there, but he is leading by example, and you can tell that the line likes blocking for him. It likes to protect. It's especially if he's going to take off and run. They will get out there and really protect him.
And now that you give him time, he can pick apart a defense, because, like I said, he doesn't make decisions with the ball. He knows he knows the offense now. He knows what he has to do. He knows where his receivers are supposed to be now. I think this is definitely his year to kind of go from a guy who can make or break a game sometimes to a guy who's going to give you a great chance to win week in and week out.
Yeah, his competitiveness is probably his greatest attribute. Non-tangible at this point.
Oh yeah, he's got a great competitor. Yeah, he's a guy who's a competitor, loves to win. It's almost like he needs to win. And after what you can say for every football player.
I watched UCLA carefully, and I didn't think their quarterback could throw the ball for the first half at all. I think in the South, Slovis may have an edge a little bit, but I'm going to put Daniels really, it's 1A and 1B right now in the South, folks, as far as the ability to get it done.
We're a little biased, but yeah, I'd agree with that. I think that's a fair assessment, and certainly it'll be a great matchup when those two meet down the road. But
circle your calendars, November 6th, folks. November 6th. You better be showing up.
Oh yeah, that's always a good game, and it'll be 1 year and 1 day, I believe, since the game in SoCal at the Coliseum last year that ASU really should have won. So they definitely will have revenge on their minds in that.
That was a big prime time. He had a real good TV slot.
Yeah, it was
Uh,
a season
and
opener. Yeah, I know.
we analyzed this, I think last year we said it came down to two 1% plays.
Yeah.
That you will never see a 1% play followed by another 1% play
Oh man,
that beat us.
it still hurts to talk about.
Well, I'm not kidding. The kids in practice, it's on their mind.
Oh yeah.
It is literally, it is one of those things that they are not letting go of. They really have.
Nor should they.
I don't want them to. Normally you're supposed to forget it, move on. They're not forgetting this one, guys. They really want SC badly.
Yeah, totally. And just going through the rest of the quarterback room, hopefully we won't have to see too many of these guys too often, except in garbage time. But the former walk-on Trent Burkett has earned the backup role.
He's throwing beautiful balls, man. I'm telling you, he throws really pretty balls.
Impressed with his, a lot of times the coaches, when they talked about him, they were glowing about his attitude and his future as a coach and all this stuff, student of the game. It's nice to hear, but not somebody you necessarily want in the game with who you need to have the win. If you're the starting quarterback goes out.
Having a kid like Trenton run your scout team, is a big deal, folks.
Oh yeah,
I'm telling you, you want to develop a scout team. You want a good quarterback.
That's all you really want him to do. If we're just being honest, not really looking for too much from him, except again in garbage time. It's maybe a guy holding the clipboard on the sidelines, giving some input here and there to Jaden. Hopefully we won't see too much of him. Same goes for Finn Collins and Dalen McLemore. The rest of the guys in the quarterback room.
A lot of people ask me about Ethan.
They're the future at the moment, but
yeah, they are. And people still ask me about Ethan Long all the time. And Ethan is still a very good athlete and a very big contributor, folks. You're going to see him. We have him in a couple. He's
the holder on place kicks.
He is a holder, and that's a huge job. And I have actually seen in practice. I saw a package at quarterback for him. It was a short yardage legs type of play for him, which
he's still Captain America.
And there will be a spot. His attitude is phenomenal. He's still hustling like a madman out there. Do not don't go short selling Ethan Long, please.
Yeah.
So but like I say, Collins and McLemore are they're showing flashes, but they're nowhere close to where Trenton is. And God forbid we lose any one of them. But
and then hopefully they'll battle it out in the future. But I still think this is you really they don't have a lot of depth beyond Jaden. As far as guys you can expect to go out there and actually take over a game, win a game for you as opposed to manage it.
And everybody,
you definitely want Jaden Daniels protected and healthy for this whole.
A lot of people are wigging out about, oh my God, we haven't got a top shelf quarterback or recruiting. Guys, the whole landscape is different with the portal, folks. I mean, it is, definitely. And because there are so many quarterbacks moving more than ever, because there's only one of those guys on the team. We are likely to pick up a really, really good quarterback.
It's like free agency now in the
NFL. Completely.
Yeah, and so that's not going to be a hard guy to find, especially in this system with the pieces that they have, with the young running backs that they have, the young receivers that they have. I think this is definitely a system. Especially if this team goes out and performs like we expect them to this year, if you don't have confidence in the quarterback room in the near future, as in going forward when Jaden Daniels leaves, you can find somebody who can come in.
I have no doubt that they'll be able to. And I think they'll be able to recruit a decent 3-star, but I think that you're going to find somebody right on the cusp who's just, had a bad whatever situation and just wants more playing time, and he's from a big time program. So,
but this is going to be a running team, and it's going to be Jaden Daniels' team. You're going to see him out. They're going to run running plays for him, certainly, but it is the running backs that have really come to the forefront in this offense. And I'm really looking forward to seeing them go out there and ball out, because these guys are fun to watch. It was really great to see them last year. I only wish I could have seen more of them. They were so much fun to watch last year.
it was thrilling. We're over 10 yards a carry. We caught the attention of the football community, I think, with what we were doing with our running game. But things are slightly different this year, folks. I'm telling you. Whereas, Chip was thunder and this was light, and Rashad was lightning. Rashad's put on some weight, and and remember, he's taller than Chip.
Right.
And they're both running inside with power and authority. But
and that's why I think you're gonna see a great 1-2 combination with them.
Yeah.
I'm really looking forward to seeing what they do coming out this year. I mean, they were just such, they were definitely the highlight offensively for this team last year. I mean, you look at Trainum, 290 yards, he averaged 6 yards a carry on his own, to go along with 4 touchdowns. Rachaad White, you mentioned 10 yards a carry on 420 yards and 5 touchdowns. He also had another one receiving. So, and he's a terrific receiver out of the backfield. He was actually the team's leading receiver, as far as yards go.
And have you seen the stat? Have you seen the stat on White that how many yards before he was contacted?
Yeah, he doesn't go down easy. I mean, it's funny when you watch him run. He looks like he's kind of gliding. It looks like he's kind of a finesse runner. But then, he absorbs contact really well.
Right, he does,
which is unusual for a guy with his size and speed. He kind of run. It's just weird how he runs.
No, you know what it is? He's very good with letting his blockers kind of set.
He's a very patient runner. Yes,
he's patient. And you go back and watch that SC game. That one great play to the one to the right side where he literally, it was a screen.
Oh yeah, just weaved his way through the defense. I know.
And as soon as he had his opening, boom, he had another gear.
Yeah.
And nobody from SC, all those really fast SC DBs could not come close. Could not catch the guy.
That was a crazy play. I mean, we were kind of hoping for good things out of him. We were kind of expecting him to kind of be the tweener last year, and he turned out to be, I think exceeded everybody's expectations.
And like I say, he has added to his game this year with a little more, with more weight, more muscle.
We'll see him on punt returns. We'll see him on kick returns. I'm sure we'll see him, lining up as a receiver. They're going to get the ball in his hands as much as possible because, I mean, you saw it last year. He has game-breaking ability every time he touches the ball, and he's one fun player to watch. And train him, same thing. He can run over people. Guy who can get those tough yards in between the tackles. I haven't seen a power runner like him in this program since Cameron Marshall. To be honest,
that's a good.
Who he reminds me of. I think he's got a little bit, even better speed than Marshall. But I love watching him run because, I mean, he can lower the pads and really just run over somebody every time he touches the ball. To me, I had such high expectations for him coming in last year, and I really liked what I saw from him.
Well, let's talk about Nada for a second. He really is the finesse back, and he has a great. He's kind
of on the smaller size.
He's put on weight. He's gotten bigger.
He definitely needed to. Last year, he did get some touches in the U of A game, which was great to see. It really was White and Trainum and then Nagata. But I think you will see Nagata a little bit more this year. They'll work him in just as much. This is really a great running back room. Truly one of the best in the country. I think if you look from top to bottom, and I'm so excited to see these guys get on the field. I can't stress that enough because this will be a run first team. That's Herm Edwards' style.
Yeah,
he's going to but for once, I think it's not just going to be an Eno Benjamin workhorse type. It's going to be
no. You're not going to score 40 points.
It's going to be 3. You got to pick your poison. He's going to work these 3 guys in, and they're going to hit you. They can beat you in very different ways.
Yeah, Herm really wants to score 40 points a game, folks. He recognizes that if he really wants to make the playoffs, the college playoff, you've got to be in an elite team at 40 points. And you just can't do that by running all the time. You have to be selective about how you do it, but you have to be, and the execution has to be great, but you've got to be able to mix it up with, the right passing game.
And you have to be able to extend drives. That's the big thing. He also talked about today in his first press conference of the season, he talked about wanting to run 70 plus plays a game. And, to get 40 points, I think that, kind of goes hand in hand. You got to be able to run 70 plays. And the only way you can do that is by having longer extended drives. And that starts with running the ball, getting the tough yards, which I absolutely think this team, with a combination of the running backs that they have, the quarterback, the dual threat quarterback that they have, and the offensive line that they have, they can absolutely do.
Yeah, and extending the drive really means converting on third down.
Yeah,
and getting and really setting up not long third downs, but short yardage,
manageable
situation.
Yeah.
That's the key. It's first and second down. It needs to be managed to get you a short third down, and you don't need anything less than 50% conversion is unacceptable for this team if you want to score 40.
I agree. If they're serious about putting 40 points a game up on there, that's absolutely true.
Right.
And another kind of unheralded part of this team is the fullback position. And Case Hatch, he's he doesn't get a lot of love in this offense, but and fullback rarely does. But he's fun. He's another guy that kind of makes it happen up there with the tight ends and what he does in the blocking game.
Right.
You see him line up all over the field. They'll move him around. He'll probably be a fullback first, but they'll also move him out to H-back.
Correct.
In the formation on passing downs.
On 3 tight ends, he'll be one of the tight ends.
Yeah.
Guys, he's a defensive player, but he's playing with a defensive mentality at this position.
He'll be out there on special teams.
Yeah, you want a defensive mentality kid as a fullback. You want him to go out there and just level people, just lay people out if he can.
And that's what he does. I mean, you saw in the U of A game, he ran over a couple people when he caught that ball, almost took it in for a touchdown right before Jackson Hees score. So this is, I really like that they kind of went back to an old school mentality, put the fullback in there, and they'll line up Case Hatch all over the field, and he can do things, do a lot of different things.
What he is, folks, is he chips. Is like a tight end where you can chip off of him. He'll come up and he'll influence block somebody just to get them, square them up out of the play and get that running back off. But we're going to go through what a pro set is in a minute. But I love the kid's attitude. Love his the fact that he just goes out there and likes to truck people, whether he has the ball or doesn't have the ball. And he turns out he actually has pretty good hands too.
Oh yeah, he's a very good receiver. We've seen flashes of that, but I think you'll see it even more this season. Now, moving on to the wide receivers, this is a very young group. Last year, and I think that this group kind of went through some growing pains, but I think they came out stronger on the other side as a result. I think they definitely got better as the season went on. It was kind of hard to watch in the USC and UCLA games. They were not as effective.
Well, we kind of threw Johnny Wilson out there as a pure freshman. I thought we kind of threw him to the wolves a little bit. He was not ready for that. Even though there was no fans, he was having the body catch or remember how many balls were coming off his body or his hands. Yeah. That's completely changed now, folks. He's a true hands catcher. And he has.
I mean, he's 6'7". He's got great size for. His speed is terrific for.
He's the fastest guy on the team. He's fastest on the team.
Runs like a deer is how I've seen him out in the open field. That's exactly how I describe him.
Yeah, and this is my order, having been to a half a dozen practices, Coach. And this is, and Ryan pointed out something in their pre-meeting here tonight. That is, this is how I rate both in terms of number of touches, but it's likely given what the defense is giving you or what who's got the hot hand, that this order may change. But Pearsall, it has a great range, and he has something that I'm very impressed with. He has a great vertical part of his game. He can go up and really go up after balls, and he has no problem laying out for a go get a ball. So he's got phenomenal range.
Yeah, and the depth chart that they released today is not written in stone.
No,
I think that they'll continue to get guys, touches. And Jaden's not a guy he's not really someone who's going to focus in on one guy. He'll go through his progressions. He'll look for the open man, and they'll just based on the route combination or whatever they're doing, what the defense is giving them, there'll be multiple guys worked in. Right now it looks like it's going to be Ricky Pearsall, Andre Johnson, and Johnny Wilson, I believe. Brian Thompson, the Utah transfer, will certainly be worked in there. Jordan Porter's another guy who should get some touches as well. LV Bunkley Shelton, I mean, this guy is just so fast. And we also talked about this during the pre-show. He's such a matchup nightmare in the slot. I don't know if, it's going to be a linebacker can kind of, chip him at the line, bump and run him at the line. But once you get into the secondary, I don't know if I don't think a safety can stay with him.
No.
He is a matchup nightmare in the slot, and there's a lot of different things that you can do with him, especially in the play action game. I'm looking for him to get a lot of touches and do some things after the catch.
Yeah, I like his game a lot. He's not nearly the size. He's not the size of Pearsall or Wilson, but he is. But he does have a nice range.
5'11", 195, which is good for a slot guy.
Yeah,
you want somebody maybe a little bit undersized to play that game, and he showed his game. I think he showed last year he's a capable route runner. He's a guy who's going to do a lot of things well. You can line him up all over the field. Me personally, I think he'll shine in the slot, especially with the way Johnny Wilson and Ricky Pearsall have kind of flashed in preseason.
Yeah,
you'll see plenty of other guys out there. I mean, Giovanni Sanders is another guy who really had a great spring and forced his way onto this depth chart. And he's another guy I really like. Chad Johnson Jr., of course, is another guy.
I do too.
Came in with LV Bunkley Shelton, Johnny Wilson, and Elijah Badger, and really didn't see the field much last year. But I think he'll definitely get his looks this year as somebody who can go out there and make an impact.
Everybody's kind of looking. 2 years ago when Ayuk was the preferred guy, or that people, and it was because he was able to get separation with his speed. Right, Bunkley Shelton has that kind of speed. Whether or not he can, in a competitive situation, can get the separation and catch balls, other than in practice. Is what I want to see happen here.
Yeah. And then you got another guy in Mekhi Metcalf who kind of worked his way onto this team and into the rotation a little bit. He's got a great pedigree, being the grandson of Eric Metcalf and the son of
Terry.
Grandson of Terry, the son of Eric Metcalf, the former Charger and Arizona Cardinal. And he's another guy I think could do some things with a little more time, with Jaden Daniels. And then another guy we're looking for something for a little bit later in the season once he gets healthy. I mentioned him before, is Elijah Badger, another guy who I think can still do some big things in this program. Definitely a lot of upside with him. He's just had some trouble getting on the field, but it's still a guy I think has got all the potential in the world.
Yeah, he hasn't been in practice other than the first practice, but he's been gone ever since then. So something's up. Nobody seems to know what it is specifically, but with the HIPAA laws and privacy laws, if he was my kid, I wouldn't be telling anybody what's wrong with him because I wouldn't want to affect his pro status, and have him buy it.
I still think we'll see him at some point. He's probably maybe just going through through a nagging thing.
Yeah.
Now he just hasn't been able to get healthy. He hasn't been able to practice yet.
Oh yeah.
But I think we'll definitely see him at some point sooner rather than later. So and then just sticking with the skill position guys here. This is probably the best tight end group I think we've seen in almost a decade. Honestly, I really like what this tight end group brings to the table. Curtis Hodges, of course, the converted receiver, just huge at 6'8", guy who's a huge matchup problem, runs much better routes than he did when he first came in to Tempe. Certainly a guy, he had a nice long touchdown catch against U of A. A guy who's flashed at times, but has never really been the guy at whatever position that he's played. But, he's kind of carved out a role for himself as tight end one. Just sticking with the tight ends here. Of course, Jalen Conyers, the Oklahoma transfer, had a tremendous spring game Caught 2 touchdown passes in that game. And then you start getting into, we mentioned Case Hatch, his role as both H-back and fullback. You see him lining up all over the field. And then you start getting into the blockers like John Stivers, who just earned himself a
scholarship from
scholarship, as a Harvard transfer. And Jake Ray, Ryan Morgan, you see those guys probably in running downs as blockers. You talked about Ethan Long, the converted quarterback. He can just play a lot of different positions. So he's so versatile. You'll definitely see him on the field in some capacity, lining up everywhere during the season.
But it's an experienced group. So it's an athletic group, and it's very and in Zach's offense, it's a pretty vital group.
Yeah,
the way he runs a lot of plays.
A lot of 2 tight end, and in short yardage, I think you'll see some 3 tight end. With what he wants to do, he utilizes the tight end, which I think is something that they have not really been able to do in this program. I was watching some old ASU games over the past few weeks, and it was fun to watch Chris Coyle.
Great
here. And,
great mismatch. Mismatch.
Yeah, exactly. And we haven't really had a game breaker tight end like him, a go-to tight end, since the days of Todd Graham, and since Chris Coyle was here. And I think maybe this year Curtis Hodges, Jalen Conyers, they can be those kinds of players.
Yeah.
Because with their combination of size and speed, they create mismatches. And in this offense, Zach Hill, he loves to go to the tight end. It's not just go out there, line up and block. It's you are part of the you're part of the formation, you're part of the route combination. Go out there, get open, catch the ball.
We talked about just a second ago, Johnny Wilson at 6'7" and Curtis Hodges at 6'8", or maybe vice versa.
Matches all over the place.
There are times when they put both of them out there, and you can just take away the label of tight end and wide receiver. They're just big body, big mismatch.
Yeah, just throw it. It's like basketball. Throw it up and let them go get it.
Exactly. And so you're looking for the mismatch, and you're looking get them in a seam.
Especially in the red zone. When you have those kinds of go-to receivers that can out jump those short DBs, that's how field goals get turned into touchdowns. That's something else I think that they were kind of missing over the past couple of years a little bit. But moving on to the tight end, the offensive line. This is another veteran group. Some of these guys really look like legitimate pro prospects, and it starts with their up front with their center Donovan West, a converted guard. He's going to be playing center for the first time on the regular. Certainly somebody that I think pro prospects, pro scouts are just drooling over what they can do with this guy. Just a road grader, a guy who can pull, does a lot of different things out there at guard and now center, at the center position. Certainly somebody who's definitely you're going to keep your eye on when you watch this team run the ball.
Interesting. I text back and forth with Van Raphorst all the time, and he had a very interesting observation. I thought it was interesting in terms of he said, "Please tell me Donovan West is going to be our starting center." He as a quarterback, that's your guy. That's your personal bodyguard, right?
Oh yeah.
And he was making sure that, because I haven't seen Rapper out of practice, so he kind of I've been giving him notes on what's going on. So he's really pulling for Donovan.
As you should. He's a guy who's easy to pull for. Definitely one of the better players on this team. Did it the right way. Came through. He even started as a freshman. Certainly somebody that you like to watch what he does. He's definitely the lead. I think the leader on this team now on this offensive line. Along with Deach and Haddis. And moving over to center, that's a position that's been in a little bit of turmoil and flux with this team the past couple of years. Haven't really been able to settle on one guy. Nobody's really stepped up and kind of claimed the position, at an elite level. And I think Donovan West certainly has the ability to do that.
Well, and here's a key,
Just
folks.
gets the snap back to the quarterback
Right.
with consistency.
If Donovan goes down, this kid right here, Ezra Dotson, help me. Oyetade,
Yeah.
Oyetade is your number 2. He is, and he's being groomed as the center of the future. Trust me, he's a natural center.
Yeah.
And
he's a guy who played it in high school. You know, Jarrett Bell
is very high level.
Jarrett Bell is there as well in the depth chart, but Ezra Dotson Oyetade looks like he's going to be the guy going forward, definitely. And then, just talking about, you talking about the center, you talking about the quarterback's best friend being the center. His left tackle's pretty, his blind side is certainly important as well. And Kellen Deach, of course, the former Texas A&M transfer, coming back for another year as a grad, is another guy who, wasn't the most consistent last year, working in the system.
Remember, he
got called for a few too many illegal man downfield penalties.
Yeah, I think that's the difference between SEC and here, Pac, in terms of how tight the refs call it. But I watched that. Yeah, I do too. And where did we see that? I forget. Anyway, Deach is a solid left tackle. He didn't play a lot at A&M. So he's really just, the 4 games was really his his chance to really be the man, consistently playing, getting lots of reps. But watching him in practice, he looks like the most certainly physically, as far as his physical presence, he's the most dominant of all the guys out there.
And now he just needs to go out there and prove it on the field. I mean, be a dominant player, play in and play out. That's what you really want from your veteran left tackle on this team. And Deach has all the physical skills to be that guy. Definitely. I mean, he was, one of the a highly recruited player. Like you said, didn't, like most guys who transferred, wasn't really getting the playing time he was looking for. But hey, the Aggies' loss is ASU's gain, so not going to complain of that much about it. And then you talk about who's going to fill Donovan West's position at left guard, because he played that position so well. And now you look to a former tackle in Ladarius Henderson, who started at right tackle 2 years ago, was solid at the position. I think even as a 17-year-old fresh out of high school, I think he did a very good job. But do you feel like he's moving into a more natural position?
Yeah, I do. He's not your long-armed tackle by body type. He is much more comfortable there. And by the way, we have a new offensive line coach, folks, from last year, Kavanaugh. Coach Kavanaugh is our new offensive line coach, a pro's pro. He's been around forever, and this is his design. Okay, he's not taking anybody just because they were here. He picked the guys he wants. And he's got a great eye for talent.
Yeah.
And I think he really thinks that Ladarius belongs on the left side still, but at guard, because he's not as long armed as Hattis.
Yeah. And I really like what he did at tackle. Definitely pushing people around, which is what you want from a big offensive lineman like him. Just need to see this group kind of gel together, and I think they will before the season's up. Right guard Henry Hattis for the transfer from Stanford, battled some injury issues. I mean, 2 years ago, this guy had a broken leg. You weren't sure of what his football future was, and for the first time, I think since that happened, he's 100% healthy, which is so great to see. I'm expecting big things out of him this year. And then one of the most pleasant surprises out of last year was redshirt. He was a redshirt freshman then. Right tackle Ben Scott. I thought he played the position extremely well. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I believe he graded out about as well as anybody in the conference playing the right tackle spot.
He did. He graded out extremely high, he's just going to get better and better. So I mean, first guy in will be Laval. You can play tackle or guard. He's playing
your guy Spencer Lavelle. Yes,
he has all the physical tools. He's a workout freak. His biggest problem has been footwork, and I'm watching. He's a mammoth.
He is a
mammoth
big boy.
he's not going to get pushed around, but he seems like he may have found his coach in Kevin on that really. And he's been here for 3 years, redshirted, but I think the light bulb's really coming on in terms of how to apply what he's being taught. So
yeah, just rounding, it's kind of, there is a little bit of a depth issue on the offensive line outside of the ones. Spencer Lavelle, like you mentioned, he'll be the top guy. But
well, they're all Scully kids. They're all Scullies. There's no walk-ons.
They are. I'm not concerned about that. It's just, you got a lot of young guys in, Austin Berry, Armand Bethea. We've been talking about Dotson Oyatade, Isaiah Glass. They're all freshmen. I think Dotson Oyatade is the only redshirt freshman on the team.
Right.
So, you got Ben Bray. Ralph Frias is another guy who's been in the program a little while, but he's hurt right now. And you don't really know what's going to happen with him. They were hoping to have some line depth in the form of North Carolina transfer Tristan Miller, but it just came out today during Herm Edwards' press conference that he might be retired. He's considering retirement from football for whatever reason, either physical or just mental. He may not be with the team this year. So, you may be leaning on some of these young guys
he's
come in and play well at some point during the year.
Yeah, he was concussed in the spring game, and it didn't look good. And it's one of those things where some guys just every concussion is different.
Yeah,
and same player could have two concussions, and then one's debilitating and one you can recover with in a few weeks. But this one, and they're right. If this kid's not passing the medical protocols, let him retire.
And you see that with different athletes all the time, with hockey players, with football players, boxers.
Mm-hmm.
You always handle so many hits to the head.
Well, and some of them it can be the severity of the hit and where it happens too.
Very true.
So but we wish him all the best.
Yeah, and you certainly don't want to disparage a guy. You don't really know what he's going through. There's you just don't know, and that's why they keep things pretty close to the vest. I mean, these are young kids,
right?
Still trying to find their way in the world. You always see them. You don't just see them as football play. You shouldn't just see them as football players. They're human beings, and they have problems just like everybody else.
I took texts this afternoon from people saying, "How come they won't tell us what's wrong?" And I said, "It's called HIPAA laws, folks.
Yeah,
you do have some privacy in this world. And again, if it's my kid, I don't want anybody knowing." If it's actually going to damage his chances of getting drafted.
Yeah, exactly. And most of these guys aren't even 20 years old yet.
Right.
I mean, there's
unless the parents sign off on it, you're not going to know what these things are. So you got to be very careful on how the injury reports work and things.
Hopefully, we don't want to see any injuries along the offensive line. I mean, there is a bit of a depth issue, but we may see some of these young guys sooner rather than later. They definitely had high grades coming out of high school, but I'm sure we'll see. Hopefully, we'll get to see them here in these first two.
Oh, yeah. People are going to
what the future looks like at the position.
Correct.
Yeah.
So let's move to
switching to defense now. Antonio Pierce's group switching over from a 3-4 to a 4-3. Always an interesting transition, but I think they have the personnel to do it. And the really, when you start talking about this defense, you got to mention the linebackers, because these three guys, they've all played together now for 3 years. They look like they're going to be really good this year. And
this is the marquee group right here, folks. Yeah. I know we want to talk. We'll get the DBs in a minute, but I'll put these three guys and their seniority and number of reps and what they've been able to accomplish up against anybody in the country. This is as good as it's going to get. And
the fact that they've all played together as long as they have, I think, is tremendous. And now they're kind of switching over to more of a true 4-3, which the team hasn't necessarily played in a while. But I still have all the confidence in the world in Antonio Pierce and Marvin Lewis and the rest of the defensive coaches that they can get it done. And this is going to be a quality group going forward. And Kyle Soley, he's a guy who just looks the part, plays the part, great football IQ, knows where he's supposed to be, doesn't miss tackles. I can't say much more about it than that. I mean, you just got to watch the kid play. he looks like the full package.
Well, and I'm so proud of of Soli, having watched him since he was a freshman at Saguaro, really develop his body and develop his craft. He's the middle. He's the middle. Merlin was the middle for his first year here.
Mhm.
That's a big responsibility, and it really belongs to a senior because he's the captain. He's the guy that calls the shots out there, and he's the right guy. He literally is like a field coach out there. And AP relied.
He's the captain, and I think that
He knows what everybody's supposed to be doing. He literally at practice goes around and tells everybody, "No, you over here, move over here." I mean, he knows the playbook that well.
And yeah, and he definitely. I talked about his football IQ. He is kind of the quarterback of the defense.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very good player at what he does. Plays downhill. He can move side to side. He does a lot of things really well. And the fact that you have two captains in this group, I think speaks volumes.
Yeah.
For what they can do and what they've done.
Have you seen the Twitter video that the team put out on who would you like your sister most to marry? It's a locker room discussion amongst all the players.
Right.
Soli was number one.
Now something else that speaks
And
volumes.
who's the least like who you want to stay away from your sister? T. Lee, overwhelmingly. He's a beast, I guess. So yeah.
That's again something else that speaks volumes.
I'll send it to you. Yeah,
I think that you talked about Merlin kind of moving around. They've been swapping positions a little bit. They've moved the guys around a little bit, but and the reason they did that, I think, was partly because Merlin dealt with some off the field issues.
Right.
Past couple of years, his head wasn't really in the game.
He looks great, boy. You should see him, man. He is raked down. He is just. He looks like he's ready to go to the body.
Definitely looks like he's back to form, physically and mentally. So
he's got the right weight, folks. He's just very cut.
Yeah. So and then Darian Butler's another guy who what more can I say? I mean, you got to watch him play. This guy plays downhill, doesn't miss tackles, knows where he's supposed to be, shoots the gap as well as anybody you will ever see in college football. Definitely just a fun guy to watch on defense. Hits like a ton of bricks. You won't see him drop into coverage a whole lot, and he's usually more sideline to sideline. Guy's going to take tight ends and running backs in coverage, but certainly somebody that is captain on the defense for a reason. A guy who plays the game the right way and is just very, very fundamentally sound.
So you're going to be spelling some of these guys, and this is the group down below here who's got the Will Schaefer, the one who really catches my eye at middle. A lot of people thought he was going to be undersized or under something.
We saw Jordan Banks and Caleb McCullough both flash in the U of A game. Same goes for Connor Soli. He had a fumble recovery in that game. But the biggest surprise to me, maybe on the whole depth chart, was the fact that Eric Gentry, the true freshman, is backing up Merlin Robertson on the strong side.
Dude, that's
a big surprise to me. I knew he was a big time prospect, but that's an interesting surprise right there.
Wait till this kid puts on some weight too. You're going to see him post. He's a beanpole.
Yeah.
Man,
he's 6'6", 200 right now. That's thin.
He looks like a basketball player. He's really rail thin, and he stands out. Literally, he's 6 inches higher than anybody else out there of him. But what he has is great closing speed, great laterals. He can run like a deer.
You'll see Will Schaefer and Caleb McCullough in the middle. Jordan Banks can play either weak or strong side.
Right.
Connor Soli will probably be on the weak side mostly. And then Jaden Williams, another true freshman, another guy who's going to see some snaps at some point this year too. So definitely a great group. I really like
it's the heart and soul of the team, folks.
So and then moving up to the defensive line, this is another veteran group. A lot of guys on this team have been in the program 3, 4, 5 years. And I think it starts with the pass rush. It's something that a lot of fans have voiced to me as maybe the biggest concern on this team. And are they going to be able to get to the quarterback? They'll be able to force some bad throws, create some turnovers. And I think it all starts with Tyler Johnson. He's a guy who has shown nothing but great ability, time in and time out. He hasn't always been the strongest when it comes to the mental aspect of the game. He had to do some growing up a little bit,
and he has. He's grown. He's
retiring from the game when he had an injury a couple years ago.
He had a neck. Yeah. And funny, yesterday at practice, he came up to me during drills. He came up to me, he goes, "What's the record for sacks on it?" I'm not kidding. He came up and I said 24. He goes, "You see him doing the math," and he said, he goes, "2 a game. I got a lot of work to do."
There you go. Exactly.
It was genuine. Yeah, he's a neat kid.
That's a great attitude you want. That's the kind of thing you want out of and it just shows his maturity, how far he's come from a kid who at one point was considering retiring from the game. Neck issues are tricky. Everybody knows that. But the fact that he's able to bounce back from that.
He had hammies. He had all kinds of little nagging things that kept him up.
But
limited him.
He's been able to kind of grow from that and still be able to get out on the field week in and week out and play at the level that he does. I mean, he has a great motor. I mean, he will get after it as well as anybody out there.
He's got a nose for the ball too. I mean, how many times? Last year, Chase made that remarkable play in the USC game where he chased the guy down from behind, knocked that ball out. First man on the ball was Ty.
Oh yeah.
And he sold it too to the ref. I mean, it looked like a 50-50 ball, but he kind of rolled over and made sure he had 51% of that ball.
And of course, during that USC game, he had a sack and then ran the locker room to take care of some business.
Yeah,
as well. I got quite a few Ty Johnson stories. We'll be here all night. But just going through the rest of the D line, Trevez Moore backing up Ty Johnson at the pass rusher spot. He's another guy, an LSU transfer who's really flashed during camp. Expecting some nice things out of him. Joe Moore from St. Louis is another guy who's been in the program a couple of years now. Definitely looking forward to seeing him on the field.
Strong. Yeah.
Well, yes. Yeah, very, very strong. And then you go into the middle, and Shannon Foreman's a guy who's been moved around a lot on this team. He's a guy who played the outside, struggled on the inside a little bit, but now that he's been able to grow a little bit and learn the position a little bit better, I expect he had a really surprising year for me last year. I liked watching him play. Felt like he set the edge really well. And now with that injury to Jermaine Lole,
right,
he's a guy that by necessity you really want to see step up.
He's the natural guy to take Lole's job. But folks, I got to tell you, there are days at practice where number 55, Omar Norman Lott, just makes everybody ooh and ah. He has a spin move. And normally you say, it's a spin move on defense. He does it so low to the ground, below people's waist, that nobody can touch him. But he's just one of these kids who's just thriving. He has such a great first step, and then he has these great counter moves. He will not let you engage in hand fighting. He is, and he's gone. He just does not mess with you. He's past you. So, this is the breakout player right here, Omar Norman Lott.
Yeah, definitely looking forward to seeing him get on the field. I mean, I really had high hopes for him 2 years ago. He's battled some injuries, but looks to be, he's still coming back from another one here, which is why, he's not higher on the depth chart, but still a guy that I expect some big things from this year.
Yeah,
has all the physical skills in the world.
The key is that spin move he has. Make sure he spins into his, if he has gap responsibility on run. But as you put,
watch for him on passing downs against non-mobile quarterbacks.
Turn him loose.
He will get after it, and that spin move when you don't have to worry about gap control. That's going to be a real weapon.
Right, just go wherever you need to go
against a certain type of quarterback at a certain time. So watch for him on that. And another guy that has just done, played the game the right way since he stepped on campus. Just done everything right, and definitely one of our favorite players here on Running with the Devils, the nose tackle DJ Davidson.
He's meant to play that position. Yeah,
he is everything you want, I think, out of a football player, a coach's dream.
Grad student
goes out there, does things the right way. Such a smart football player, where he's supposed to be every single play. Just I can't say enough good things.
Well, he has that great ability you look for in noses to two gap. You look,
Yeah.
he's here, right?
Yeah. And they'll kind of play a stacked, not really a stacked, straight ahead 4-3. They'll kind of,
right.
Stagger it to either.
They'll run it off with one shoulder. Yeah, correct.
So, and that's where, DJ Davidson, when he's playing in a gap, he really shines when he plays that gap control type of ball where he's not expected to. He's not really a space eater nose tackle, kind of like Tayshawn Smallwood was.
Right.
Guy who you want to be in it, just have one gap in mind.
Well, that's funny. Yesterday,
that's where he really shines.
I'm watching Ty and DJ I think they're pretty close. I'm just looking at their physical heights. They appear to be the same height. Just Ty is just longer armed, more of a smaller hipped, more your typical edge rusher.
Yeah, that's what you want out of your edge rusher. Guy who's going to get hands on the old lineman.
DJ's long. DJ's a long nose guard.
Yeah. And you'll see, and then one of the first guys on the depth chart who's gonna you'll see quite a bit of is TJ Pasifea, a walk on, just a guy who's flashed when he's had his opportunities, and then a walk on this year,
right?
Green, one of the big surprises out of camp,
making plays, folks,
yes.
Making plays in practice. My God!
So you'll definitely see quite a bit of him, and then another walk on, the Kansas State transfer. Matthew Polomau is a guy who's found his way into the mix as well.
Just raw. He's very raw.
Definitely a lot to like about this defensive line.
Yeah.
And then on the end, Michael Matus, the Texan, another guy who played really well at times last year. Sets the edge well, does some things. He's not the best pass rusher, but very, very tackling machine in the run game. Definitely somebody who can get after it. He's a body tackler. He's a guy who's not going to try to arm tackle anybody. He's going to do what you're supposed to do. Square up guys and put his shoulder into the guy's numbers. That's what you want. That's what Michael Matus does. I'm definitely looking forward to seeing him do more of that this year. And then the freak, Amiri Johnson.
Thank you.
Definitely a guy who just, he doesn't always get on the field as much as you might like, but a guy who has a very, very bright future. Another guy with all the physical skills. He just needs to get a few more game reps.
So he comes in as a freshman and he's really light. So we bulk him up. Sophomore year, he's put on too much weight and he really has lost his quicks. So now they've got him raked back down to a really nice weight again, and he looks
comfortable middle. Yeah.
Well, he's got a first step again now, which is always what was so impressive about him on film.
He hasn't seen more of the field just because they haven't really found the right medium with him. As opposed to being too big or too small. Now I think it's just right with him, and he will see more of the field this year. Same goes for Anthony Cooper, another guy.
I like
the skills.
Local kid, boy, but I do like this kid a lot. I like his game.
Yeah, everything to like about Anthony Cooper.
We threw him into that Sun Bowl really with no reps, and he put on a show. I thought he had a guy across from him who was it was a step, a last minute. A lot of guys opted out for the pros. He had nobody playing against him during the Sun Bowl. But man, he was just destroying people in that Sun Bowl, and I've liked it ever since. I
definitely want to see a little more consistency out of him. I think once you get that, he'll see more of the field. And then Sam Lambert, a guy who's been in the program for a few years,
talented,
battled injuries. That's all it's been with him. Another guy with long arms. Everything you want to see out of a pass rusher.
Speed.
Just a guy who has struggled to get on the field because of injuries, but it looks like he's healthy, and hopefully we'll see some good things from him in the years to come. So and then going on to the corners. Now this looks like it's going to be a great group. Just somebody, just as you can see here, full of veteran players. Guys been in the program for a few years now. And really look like they're going to lock down the outside. And of course, that starts with the captain, Chase Lucas.
Heart and soul.
Oh yeah, and that's what he plays with. He plays with his heart and soul. guy who just loves the game, a student of the game. You know, kind of the, you know, I'd say almost the, you know, other than Jaden Daniels, maybe the face of the team as well. So, you know, just a lot to like about this kid, a local kid out of Chandler High School. You know, just goes out there and puts it all out on the field, loves the game. And Herm Edwards, since he stepped foot on campus, is really taking this kid under his wing and kind of molding him in his image a little bit. And, you know, you always see him with his arm around Chase Lucas, kind of giving him personal coaching. And I think he even sees a little bit of himself in Chase Lucas.
Maybe, yeah. I mean, remember the corners, for the most part, they need to win every down. I mean, it's all it is a, you didn't beat me, I made this little mistake. You know, they have that attitude. Like,
to me, this is the most difficult position on the
football. It is, and folks, we are the first week of practice, they were strictly playing man to man, and nobody on offense could catch a ball because chasing. I'm not kidding. Nobody. In fact, everybody was saying there's something wrong with Chase or something wrong with Jade. No, it was these guys just hammering people and playing the tightest. You could tell it was like they were just so happy to be out there playing. Yeah. They weren't giving anybody a step. So
and then of course the athletic freak that Jack Jones has become.
Yeah.
I mean, this guy, you know, he gets into trouble a few years ago at USC, gets kicked off the team.
Well, he got in trouble. For a little while last year too.
Yeah. And you know, didn't really play as much, I think, as we thought he might. Missed a couple games, but you know, came back to the program, and you know, he had a tremendous camp. Yeah, he's another guy who really looks like he's going to be a great pro prospect. Yeah. And then we start getting into the backups. You know, Tamarcus Davis, he's been hurt this year a little bit, but he looks like he'll factor into the mix a little bit when he comes back. And then another surprising camp, although it really shouldn't be a surprise as highly ranked as he was coming out of high school in Florida, but Tommy Hill looks like he's going to see quite a bit this year as a backup. I mean, just a guy who just goes out there and plays with so much natural athleticism.
Yeah,
that's the great thing about Tommy Hill. He's a little raw as a freshman, but still somebody who has all the physical skills. He's got speed, the cover skills, great hips, everything you want in a corner. Tommy Hill has as a true freshman.
Yeah. And T. Lee he's a character.
Another guy in T. Lee. But you want your corners to kind of be characters. You want them to be a little loud, a little obnoxious, a little flamboyant. A lot of the best corners, that's kind of their personality. That's T. Lee. And what do you expect for a guy from Georgia, right?
Yeah.
So
he talks smack amongst the best of them out there.
Yeah, exactly.
But he tends to back it up.
Yeah, and, that's what you want. That's what you want out of your corners. Yeah, you talk smack, but you back it up. It's all good.
Yeah,
I love watching him get on when he gets on the field.
There's a couple of others guys, but that they're not. I didn't want to get. This is the group though that has lots and lots of great bodies out there, lots of great players. My goodness.
You'll see Jordan Clark, you see Ed Woods, a couple other freshmen, Isaiah Johnson, RJ Reagan, Mason Williams is another guy who get on the field. So, it's a really great looking group of corners, I think.
Yeah. My turn to the safeties now, the DeAndre Pierce, which is Coach Pierce's son, has had a really good camp, folks.
And he flashed last year. I mean, he overtook Corey Crosswell for the starting safety spot, which is
I didn't think we missed too much a beat, really. Crosswell is just the blessed with the size and the really freakish athletic ability, but Pierce stepped right in. Evan Fields, though, to me, folks, this kid should be all packed this year. I think he has that potential. Be all packed in terms
and to me, he's kind of. I mean, they kind of flirted with him at linebacker at times.
Had
him play the kind of the Tillman position,
right?
But to me, he's tailor made to be a strong safety.
He is. When he was making all those tackles that one year, it wasn't because he understood the scheme. He went to where they told him to go. He filled the hole, and it was there. And sure enough, it was there. It's a little different kind of defense now.
Yeah, but yeah, with a true 4-3, yeah, that's
Mhm.
kind of what you're going to see. But I think
Right.
you'll see Evan Fields come down in the box plenty.
Oh,
He's terrific in run coverage. Like you mentioned, just a tackling machine. Guy just
mhm.
goes out there and makes plays. And I'm definitely looking forward to more of that this year
Right.
from him. So
Real, yeah.
yeah, and then you got Cam Phillips. He'll back up Pierce at free.
Mhm.
K1 Markham is the guy who saw a lot of the field last year. In the last couple of years, him and his brother Keon, uh, both good looking players. But K1 kind of looks like he's the kind of the more superior player.
Now I slipped DJ Taylor just out of the practices I saw and what his contribution, his speed and his ability to. I mean, he got it. He's got the DJ Taylor was making plays.
He's a football player.
Oh my gosh, yeah. And so every year we talk about this. This is why you recruit athletes, right? You don't know if they're going to be on the offensive side or the defensive side. But again, DJ is going to be probably your fastest kid in terms of, and we saw it last year in terms of his run back.
That's why he plays special teams. Absolutely. And then you got, Cam Phillips was a starting safety a couple of years ago.
Right.
He'll still. I think he'll still be in the mix. He'll see the field plenty this year.
Oh yeah.
And then Willie Hartz is another guy I'm really looking forward to seeing how he plays this year.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, DJ Taylor. I mean, he played running back a lot last year.
Well, he was beginning of the camp. He was in the running back. He was in the running backs room, and they moved him. I don't know when they moved him, but it was Aguano had told me that in between spring and camp that he was going to be in the running backs room.
Well, like we said, he is a football player. He's not. You can't really put him in a box as far as what he is. All three phases of the game, he has ability. So you just kind of put him out there on the field, and just you're going to get good things from it. I think that's the big thing with DJ Taylor. So and then we mentioned DJ. Obviously, he's got all the skills in the world as a kickoff returner. We definitely saw it at the start of the U of A game last year. Yes, sir. But you'll see Rashad White do that too. LB Bunkley Shelton, and then Chase Lucas has been an interesting addition there in the punt return game. So
yeah, and he's probably your fourth option. White has put on more weight, but he has that really cool little shimmy he'll give you.
Yeah, and I mean, once he creates space for himself, he's got the chance. He's got a chance to go all the way. We definitely saw it plenty last year. He's got all the ability in the world when he gets the ball in his hands. So yeah, why not put it? Give him more touches. Give him as many touches as you can, especially in the special teams game. So then just moving on to the specialists. Of course, John, your favorite topic, special teams with the kickers and punters. News came down over the weekend that Christian Zendejas was coming out of the transfer portal and coming back to ASU. This will be an interesting thing that they do with the kickers. I think you're going to see Christian kind of handle the short field goals.
If it works out, yes.
Yeah, maybe everything within 40 yards. And then Logan Tyler, who is expected to be the kickoff specialist, will probably handle anything, maybe like 50, 40, 50 yards and beyond.
Yeah, Logan can put it to the back of the end zone on kickoff, folks. And he's also, he's been hitting 50 yards or so type of, the long field goal.
Of course, I'm just speculating on that, but that's just kind of from what I've seen from these guys in the past. That's kind of what I expect this year. And then the true freshman, Eddie Zaplicki, looks like he's going to be the punter this year. Came in, had a nice ranking. Wasn't sure we were going to see him right away, but looks like he is going to be the guy when unfortunately you have to go out there and punt the ball.
Well, now that he doesn't have to do punting and kicking, I think he can really focus.
It looked like at one point he was going to do that. I don't know. They mentioned that they didn't want their punter to also have to place kick. That was the only thing. We don't know if they were talking about Zaplicki or Logan Tyler, but that was the big reason why they wanted Christian Zendejas back. to be able to take some pressure off of one of them. And Christian, for what say what you will about him, his attitude in leaving the team, maybe not, not the most professional thing, but certainly one of the most accurate kickers I think you'll ever find. And he's shown that he can kick under pressure. He's got a couple of game winners under his belt. So, definitely I think a welcome addition back to the team. So
the backstory on Christian is, he's been going to networking groups that I'm a part of on Monday nights, and he was down there with his sport coat and tie on, with panning out, looking for who could offer him a job. And Danny Cush said, "Look, man, you got to be in a competitive. You got to exercise that competitive muscle. You got to be in a program. You're kidding yourself if you think that you can just go walk into a pro football camp without having been on somebody's program your senior year. You got to get into a program." Yeah. So I think that registered with him, and Danny happened to talk to Coach Edwards at the kickoff banquet on Thursday, and really disabused him of the notion that you could have a guy, let alone a freshman, trying to do both kicking and punting.
Right.
And they had two guys. Logan could do it. A couple of guys could do it.
Yeah,
and you really don't want that, folks.
And Sean Slocum, he's about as good as they come when it comes to special teams coaches. I mean, he's been here. He was one of the few holdovers from Todd Graham to Herm Edwards. That kind of speaks volumes about how good he is as a coach, and he knows what he needs to succeed. And I think that this is kind of the direction that they've taken, and I have all the confidence in the world in Sean Slocum and this makeup here with the specialists. So more power to you, sir. I think we have a good group here. So moving on here.
Don't undersell that long snapper now.
Never.
Well, it's actually you got King, Dickerson, and
Dickerson will be the guy. Dickerson is the guy. He's the grad. He's the senior.
Chaparral kid, yeah.
Yeah.
But right now, Gage King is starting. I believe he's in the number one spot from what I can.
The depth chart they released today says Dickerson. So
Hode Rubino had it King, Dickerson.
Well, we'll see on Thursday.
Yeah.
So that'll do it for the depth chart. And then looking at here, this will kind of be if there is such a thing as a base formation for a offense, this is it.
Yeah, this is called right here. Yes, a split back, or what's known as a pro set.
Right.
Yeah, and this is where you'll either see two halfbacks, or halfback and a fullback, or two halfbacks and a fullback coming up here into the slot where the tight end would be. But we run every kind of option off of this you can imagine, folks. This is our bread and butter, okay? And people say, what do I look for? Look for this. This is what their base offense will look like. And occasionally you'll take that fullback and you move them up to here, you move them up to here. But but we run so many variations of it that Case Hatch actually came out today and says, I dare anybody to defend this, because we do it so many different ways.
Well, yeah, you run it right. Yeah, very hard to stop. So that's going to be the big thing with this. And then just kind of breaking down the schedule this year. Certainly starting on Thursday with Southern Utah should be kind of a good gauge of where this team is at. And then you got UNLV next Saturday, going to Provo to face the Cougars on the 18th. I think that'll be your first real litmus test for how good this team can be this year. And as you're starting Pac-12 play, you open at home again against Colorado, going to Pasadena to face the Bruins. I think another revenge game after what happened last year. Certainly want to see this team play well against those Pac-12 South opponents.
Yeah, you want to be 4-0 going to that UCLA game, folks. Anything else is unacceptable this year.
Agreed.
And as you started off the show, the attitude really is, why not now? Why not us? Everything's in place.
Hey, with 22 starters back, there's no reason for it not to be now.
Right.
That's the big thing with me. And then, of course, and then we get to our first, to our only other than Thursday. This will be the only non-Saturday game on October 8th, Friday, October 8th against Stanford at home. Then one of the really big tests for this season. Circle this game too. On October 16th at Utah. This is going to be an interesting game for where, for who's who in the Pac-12 South, because Utah always tough, especially on the defensive side. Coach Kyle Whittingham always has his guys ready to play, and by this mid-season point, they should be in top form, at least defensively. We don't really know what they're going to look like offensively. They got some quarterbacks, got some quarterback questions.
Right.
Not, they don't have a lot of experience. The skill positions probably still reeling from the loss of their uber talented running back in the offseason, an untimely death. Very, very sad. But you don't really know what those Utes are going to look like offensively, at least.
Well, they're not going to be the team we
very
saw
tough defensively, as usual.
Not going to be what they were 2 years ago when they were all 5-year seniors who all went to the pros and really loaded up and were very physical on us. And just literally punched us in the mouth. And so much so that I think we let them beat us the next game, which was UCLA.
UCLA, yes, we got blown out in that game as well. Right. So that's going to be a very good test, and luckily we have the next week off, because that'll definitely be a physical game against Utah before we come back home against Washington State. Should be another interesting game. But then you mentioned November 6th, USC in Tempe, a revenge game, a game that may determine who's who in the Pac-12 South, depending on how the seasons go to that point. But I really expect that to be a game that determines the top team in the Pac-12 South at that point.
I mean, if you think about it, folks, SC beat us, like I say, last year in two 1% plays. The year before, our tight end drops the ball with our backup quarterback.
With our backup quarterback, yes.
Not quite on the same page. We have outplayed these guys 2 years in a row, I felt, and the players know it, but they really do.
And we have 0 wins to show for it.
That's correct.
Yeah. So they will definitely. I think I hark back to that '96 game against USC is kind of the measuring stick for where this team can be. That's definitely a game. Kind of I see some echoes from that '96 game in this game, and I'll see this team come out and play well.
I hope we'll be
arguably their biggest rival for the top spot in the Pac-12 South.
Yeah, this should determine who wins the South if everything falls into place.
No likelihood. Both teams stay relatively healthy. Everything falls like everybody's expecting it to. Yes, I totally agree. And then that's a couple back-to-back road games in the Northwest. Those Pac-12 schedule makers, they sure do love us in November. All I can say is pray for day games.
Yeah.
Pray for day games where it's somewhat, there's some sunlight. It's at least something resembling warm.
And not 6 inches of snow on the ground like it was at Washington.
Or a friggin' monsoon or any, no bad weather elements would be very ideal. In 2 games against Washington and Oregon State. Washington expected to be one of the contenders in the North. Oregon State, expected to be one of the battle with Arizona for the cellar in the Pac-12, but still, definitely a team you don't want to underestimate in Corvallis in November, as 2014 taught us. I'm sorry, I hate to bring it up, but certainly a team that you can't take lightly on their home field with the elements in their favor.
Hey,
definitely got to go out there and play your best.
They've been getting better every year. I thought the way they played Oregon last year was very impressive.
Mike Smith's a very, very good coach, and it's not easy to win or even be competitive at times in Corvallis. And he's really done a nice job.
I think that Oregon State Oregon games at Oregon this year. It flips back to Oregon, so it's probably going to be in Oregon's favor. But
then, of course, the Territorial Cup, November 27th in Tempe.
Friday.
Those U of A
We're back.
Well, no. It's a Saturday, isn't it?
I'll look it up.
I thought it was Saturday again. So, but again, Arizona getting a little bit of hype over the past couple of days with some of the recruits that they're bringing in. Jed Fish looks like he's got that program.
You're right.
Headed in the right direction. But the thing is, with the way Kevin Sumlin left that program, the only direction they can go is up. So
yeah, and all these folks, I know.
I don't believe the hype with them. I mean, they're starting, a kid that I followed at Castile and Gunnar Cruz, who's got some skill, but they don't have a ton of. Kevin Sumlin really left that cupboard bare, and a lot of guys transferred out when Jed was hired. So they're a little slight on playmakers right now. I think you'll see some young guys step up before the season's over, but it's going to be reflected in their record by season.
Yeah, and the recruits they're getting, obviously, the only thing that's attracting them down there is instant playing time.
Yeah,
definitely. They're not. This is not a big building scenario.
And most of them are on defense
type scenario
too. And most of the recruits that they're getting are on defense, which is certainly good for them. But you got to be able to score points in this conference.
Yeah,
I think this is not the SEC. You cannot win playing lights out defense all the time.
And watching their spring
points, you got to be able to run the ball with some consistency.
Well, Ryan, because they if you watch their spring game, they appear to be going to be a run oriented team, only because nothing really in terms of a quality quarterback at this point.
True, but again,
but it's only going to go just so far.
Just because you're a run oriented team doesn't mean you can run the ball.
Hallelujah.
So that's the schedule for 2021, and we start on Thursday night against the Southern Utah Thunderbirds, who we got to look at this past Saturday when they took on the reigning Mountain West champion San Jose State. Southern Utah, I mean, obviously being a lower division FCS team out of the Big Sky Conference, and they use rival. In case you didn't know that, they play every year for the Grand Canyon Trophy.
Mm-hmm.
They really didn't. They looked a little overmatched, to be honest, against San Jose State. They had a lot of trouble covering the skill position players in the passing game. They had way too many running lanes in the running game.
They're so small up front, though.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, they are a true Big Sky team that's going to try to beat you with their athleticism, and they will spread you out a little bit.
Yeah.
But they really had trouble getting going on offense with quarterback Justin Miller, completing 15 of 44 passes. But I mean, the game wasn't even as close as the 45-14 score.
No, I thought the kid who jumped the route and had the pick six, that was the most athletic thing I saw all night.
Kobe Singleton, the corner, made a nice play on the ball and took it back to the house. And the only other score came in the first half when they ran the Philly special in the red zone, and Justin Spiller, their quarterback, caught the touchdown.
Yeah.
So that was that is a little bit of an issue getting going for this team in their first game. But I mean, they do have some nice players. A couple guys flashed, including their young running back Dane Christensen. This is another team that has a nice running back room. You'll also see David Moore. He got 10 carries on Saturday. Karras Davis is another guy. He ended up being the leading rusher on the team. He had a nice 28-yard run in that game.
Did I cover that?
So that's a team, but this is also a team that really had trouble getting it going through the air. I mean, their leading receiver had 3 catches for 27 yards. So,
and the goofy thing was, to me, you said you didn't see the second half. They made no defensive adjustments the second half. They just ran the same base defense,
man to man. I know.
Yeah,
the whole time.
What was that?
I have no idea. I could not tell you.
I don't get it.
I'm glad I didn't watch the second half, because the first half was just a monotony of mistakes. Really hard to watch them at times, especially defensively.
Well,
they just like looked like San Jose State was breaking for 10, 15 yards.
Right.
Every
halftime is where you make your adjustments.
Yeah.
They didn't have they had no other scheme to throw at them, I guess. It was like, what is this?
Yeah, I mean, it speaks volumes when you only get 250 yards total in the game.
Yeah. So I love
under their 60-year head coach, Warren. I would think that they would be a little bit more on point on both sides of the ball, and they look like they're rebuilding a little bit right now. When they really did. I mean, they had a decent year last year. They played a lot of games. They finished 1-6. They played a lot of games close, so they were
they beat Cal Poly, which they hadn't been done since 1989. That's it. Hey guys, the Big Sky is a tough. Portland State, Sacramento State,
very competitive.
NAU,
Yes,
very competitive.
This is true. This is true. They have a very competitive. They have a very competitive.
Idaho,
They played in the spring this year. They played in the spring this past year. So
that's right. Yeah,
that was interesting to watch. And of course, Justin Miller, their quarterback last year, threw for 5 touchdowns against NAU. So they have some ability.
He threw for 1,700 yards. For the year.
Yeah,
7 games.
But it just hasn't really. I don't think it's manifested itself. They may just be starting slow to the season.
Right.
But this is certainly a team that ASU should run off the field fairly early if they play like we believe they're capable of.
Mm-hmm.
I have no reason to believe ASU can't come out from the get-go and just dominate on both sides of the ball against this team. Just want to see them, kind of get it together. Just do some things well, force some turnovers, put some drives together, put points on the board, take the win, and get ready for UNLV.
I just know that our guys are so anxious to hit somebody else besides themselves right now.
Totally.
But don't you love the way it's set up in terms of Southern Utah, tougher UNLV and a tougher BYU? I mean, it's progressively harder. There's no
you're not going out of order in any way when you're
right.
You're right. You're getting progressively harder with each game, and that buildup I think will definitely benefit ASU at least in the early part of the season. We'll be able to work, get some things on film, work some things out, and get better for the next week.
I'm just curious now with this new alliance we have with the ACC and the Big Ten, and the promise of having some of those games and maybe dropping down to eight conference games,
right?
Where you might still get a cupcake, but you're now going to look at maybe some of the either going away or maybe home here, some of the better ACC or Big 12 teams.
I'd like to see Clemson come here. That'd be very cool. So
I think it'd be great for the program. I think it'd be great for recruiting. Yeah. I think it'd be great for fans, selling tickets, all of it, to see Clemson out here. We all saw it when a team like Georgia came out here, and how they bought 30%.
That turned out to be a bad season.
It was, yeah.
But in any case, we should see some great. It'd be just great to be back in that stadium and see that team come out of the Tillman Tunnel and just light it up once again. Hopefully that's what we'll see on Saturday, because we know what this team is capable of. We saw flashes of it last year, and I definitely like to see them.
I was really excited about
force their will against a weaker opponent.
That's what it is. You cannot afford to play down to the level of a team like this.
Definitely.
And that's one of the most vexing things in my mind. Always will be. I want to, having played NC2A sports, it was always nutty to me to see us play down to a level of an inferior team, and we all knew it. And why that happened, I still can't put my finger on it, other than everybody was just doing what it took to get by that night.
Yeah, coaching is part of it too. But
it's but
I think that the coaches even feel it. The coaches feel like, hey, this is our shot. This is our year. I think there's a sense of urgency, especially with the NC2A investigation kind of looming, and what's going on with some of the coaches. I think this is their shot to kind of go out there, put their mark on college football this year, and hopefully they'll go out there and play like we believe they can. So that'll bring us to this week's Keys to the Game, presented by Wallach & Volk Mortgage Bank. For all your mortgage and refi needs, check out xllending.com. For me this week, pretty simple. Just go out there, enforce your will. Know who you're playing. Know who you are. Know who you're playing. Go out there and play your best. like you know you're capable of. Don't, like you mentioned, don't play down to your opponent. Just go out there, do your job, do what you've been preparing for the last couple months, pretty much since last season ended. I think as far as mentally, for a lot of these players, I think just go out there, play with some passion. Yeah, you're not playing USC or Oregon, but it's still a game that you want to go out there and win and play well. And I think that's what this team needs to do, is just get in that. If they get in the right mentality, this shouldn't even be a ball game by halftime. And I'm hopeful that's what we'll see on Thursday. I mentioned it before. I think turnovers is a big thing. That's been a big thing with this coaching staff, with this defense.
Right.
If they can go out there, force some turnovers, create good field position for the offense, and don't give this Southern Utah team any confidence whatsoever. Again, I think this game will be over fairly quickly. At least that's the outcome that I'm hoping for on Thursday.
My keys for the game, folks, is watch the weather. We're going to get a bunch of rain Tuesday, and somewhat it may still
Wednesday. Wednesday was what I heard.
Wednesday's the big one, and they may be even canceling some flights around here as the latest. But it's still supposed to be scattered showers on Thursday. So I expect the ground to be moist, dewy, and humid, and I expect the ball to be loose. So I think we have to be looking for, we should be not taking the ball out. I mean, we practically led the country in takeaways last year, 2 point something.
Despite
takeaways per game.
4 games.
Yeah, I want to see us build on that. I know that the DBs really have a thing right now where they're counting how many turnovers they can create.
Yes.
And
you want that inside competition, though.
I think that's one of the keys. I want to see us be in a wet field, a slippery ball, possibly just taking the ball away from people on defense.
Right.
And if we can do that, we're going to be and that's a skill that we can keep honing throughout the year and getting really good at, and taking pride in our takeaways. So I look for us to one of the keys.
I don't want to be too reliant on them throughout the course of the season, but yeah, you'd still like to be able to get them on a somewhat regular basis.
Yeah.
I mean, that's going to be a big key to the team's success this year.
Yeah, I just think in this game in particular, with there should be a lot of turnovers.
Yeah, and Southern Utah, I mean, they do have a couple of decent players. I think that they're, they were saying on the broadcast, the team's left tackle Braxton Jones is a legit pro prospect.
He's an athlete.
Yeah, and then this will just be fun from a pronunciation standpoint.
I challenge you.
Their linebacker La'akea Kaho Ohano Davis. Say that 3 times fast. Well, should also be a player to watch on that defense.
Yeah, right.
But
he's playing middle. He's playing middle linebacker, I believe.
And this is still an inferior team, though.
But he's their best athlete on defense. Yeah. And I actually take voice notes on these guys. I was watching the game, and I kept calling his number. He caught my eye.
Yeah.
But I want to know something.
This is still a team that you should put away fairly early, though, I believe.
Yeah, put them away early. Let the twos have a good chance of getting playing most of the second half, and the threes. Yeah. Hey, I want to get to the point where Jackson Hugh comes in again.
There we go. Okay. Give him another touchdown.
We need another painting by Christopher Roach. So hey, we didn't do this. I want to put you on the spot. I want to go back to the schedule. You want to play the how many wins game?
Oh, brother, I suppose we have to. This being our preview show.
For 5 years, we've been doing this for 5 years, pal.
Yeah,
we can't stop now.
I'll say, I want to say 11-1, but I'm gonna go with 10-2.
Yeah, I think that's a good one.
I think Washington's going to be such a tough game in Seattle. It's such a tough place to play in November. I don't know. I don't really know. Coming right off the heels of USC, don't really know what the team's going to be like at that point. You could see them slip up at some other point. Just the parity of college football. It's difficult to predict at times. You just never know what team's going to show up what week. Even on a veteran-laden team like this, with pro coaches, you just never know. I mean, this team's going to have at least a couple close games, even if they play the best of their ability throughout the course of the year. You're going to have a couple close games this year, and I don't know if they can come out on the top. I'm hoping for, ideally, best case scenario, I think 11-1. I think is realistic, but I'm going to say 10-2.
So Vegas has this, the 9 mark, right? I was kind of buying into 9-3. I was sort of having UCLA being one of the games we might lose. And watching UCLA, we can beat that team.
They look like they run the ball pretty well.
That's the most impressive thing about that team, I think, at this point. It's not anything close to our running game. It's really kind of a one-man, maybe 2 guys can, and they're running. They're running like they're angry. I get it.
Yeah, they got a 2-headed monster with Britton Brown and Zach Charbonnet, the Michigan transferred. Charbonnet, of course, had that big game Saturday against Hawaii. Dorian Thompson-Robinson, he's a dual threat guy. He can tuck it and run with a better.
His running, right? His pass. I mean, Hawaii was not giving him much pressure, but he was not throwing the ball well at all. I don't know if it's just first game jitters, just what it was. That's a team that. So I've switched from my 9-3 to 10-2. Okay, and I have us winning the USC game. So you can figure out.
I'm very hopeful for that game too, with the players' mentality coming into that game. I have every confidence that they're going to play to the best of their ability in that game, with just everything that has happened the last 2 years when we played that team, and just they're kind of. I think that they're going to be the ones standing in our way when it comes to taking control of the Pac-12 South, and that's a team you can't go around. You got to go straight through them.
Right, and I think
this team is built to do just that.
You and I talked about this, and it was my sort of, for the last 2 years, sort of pointing out that the way Herm approached his game plan was kind of like a pro team that was hang around, stay close, and keep the score low and win. I see that everything changing now, and I think now the idea. I think AP is probably as big as anybody, getting in his head saying it's okay to put the hammer down and score a lot of points.
That's the college mentality,
right?
You've got to be able to score at least in the 40s if you want to win on a consistent basis.
And he's got sacked.
Even if you don't hit that 40 mark, you still want to have that mentality to be able to go for that, get those 70 plays in, and you give yourself a better chance to win when you do that.
So my criticism up to this point has been, we've been in too many tight games that we lose.
Too much of a pro mentality, I think. There's been a bit of a learning curve. Hey, old dogs can learn new tricks, and Herm's a prime example. I think you're absolutely right on that change in mentality, and I think it is going to be for the better.
Yeah, that's why I sense that this is, we've gone from 7 wins, 8 wins, the anomaly of last year, and I think you would think 9
this year. I think you can kind of consider a throwaway from a record standpoint. Would have been nice to get more wins, but the COVID thing was kind of inevitable, and the season kind of became a wash at that point. I think we just kind of take it as a learning experience and move on. So that'll do it for this edition of Running with the Devils. Thank you so much for joining us on our season preview. We'll look forward to seeing you at Sun Stadium all season, and we'll be right here giving you the lowdown on everything Sun Devil football. So for John and RyKno, Big John Caldwell, we say goodnight. Go Devils, forks up, beat the T-Birds.
Yeah, baby.